do in your free time absolutely matters to you building wealth and being financially secure. It doesn't matter whether you work a full-time job, work for yourself, or have side gigs. What you do in your free time has a direct impact on your wealth. Now, no, I am not going to say in your free time you got to grind away and work really hard. This channel is stop the grind. So how does this affect us? Well, truthfully, the number one reason you don't build more wealth is because in your free time, you waste it. You completely waste your free time on things like television. The average American watches 4 hours of TV a day, 4 hours of mind-numbing, brain-rotting TV. Now, why do I say this? And why do I say that matters? Because when you're watching TV, yes, there's a time and a place to watch TV. So I'm not saying never do it. But what I am saying, when you're watching TV, your mind is checked out and you're just consuming content. That's all you're doing when your brain is checked out like that. Even worse, depending on what you're watching, you're filling your mind with things that don't help you, but actually hinder you. They inject thoughts into your mind. Yes, I know this sounds like a conspiracy theory, but it's not. Your mind is filled with whatever you're consuming. So if you're seeing TV shows where just bad social behaviors are acceptable, you yourself start doing these bad social behaviors. Now, there's a time and a place to watch some funny shows. I get it. But you want to be careful with what you're consuming. Now, the most productive people watch very minimal to no TV. Like I said, I didn't say cut out TV, but they watch minimal TV. But what they do in their free time is so much more valuable. One, you have a family. You have kids, you have a wife, you have others that you care about. Spending time with them is so valuable. One, if you have a family, your family is your number one ministry, your number one priority, your number one care. So you need to spend time taking care of your family. Does that mean playing games with the kids? Does that mean giving your wife the attention she deserves? When you do these things, you set up a better family structure and you set up more success for your family. When you have a better family structure and a happier family and a more engaged family, you yourself actually perform better for work, whether it be your own business or a side gig, and that gives you more money. Because when you work better and do better, you make more money. Even if you work for yourself, when you work better and do better, you do better work, which gives you more customers because your customers refer you and like you, and you actually enjoy what you do, and you tend to be more efficient. So the number one thing that you should be doing with your free time is investing in your family and your spouse. They are your number one priority. The next thing you need to be doing, yes, and I have the chat window open so I can answer your questions live. The next thing you need to be doing with your free time, your off time when you're not at work, is invest in your health. And this is something I actually struggle with. I don't like working out. I don't like going to the gym. I just don't like it. And because I don't like it, it's somewhat of a grind for me to do it. But it really matters because I think it's Dave Ramsey who says, if you don't make time for your health will make you make time, or something to that effect. And what he means is, if you don't take care of yourself, if you don't do the exercise now, your body's going to fail. You're going to get sick. You're going to be in the hospital. Something's going to happen that will force you to take that time. And ultimately, you won't be healthier, even though now you were forced to take the time and be unhealthy. So you need to take the time to work on your health. Your health matters. Now, I read a recent study that was really interesting to me, and it talked about somebody who really struggled to lose weight. Now, this was a marathon runner who was now retired and still ran the occasional marathon, but not essentially professionally, I guess. I don't know. If you see me running, you better run too, because something's coming up behind me. So anyway, but this marathon runner was midlife-ish type age from what I remember, and had put on a few pounds and really couldn't control the weight anymore. It was really bizarre. Ran. And what ended up happening was this runner decided to change strategies. Instead of running, this runner started to walk. not doing nearly as much exertion as before. And the runner started to lose weight. Now, I'm not saying this is the way to do it, but I found this study really interesting because when I go to the gym, I think you're supposed to push hard, sweat hard, get your, not blood pressure, your pulse up real high, and really exert a lot of energy. What this article said and got into the details of, when this runner was doing that, it caused the body to compound a bunch of other things together that caused more weight gain. When this runner started exercising daily by doing more gentle type activity like walking without exerting as much energy, without working as hard, the body burned calories but didn't like stock up. And hey, I see Meek Money 48, you're here. I'm doing much better than I was before. My YouTube channel is now over 9,000 subscribers, but I'm not monetized yet. Hey, that is really interesting. Let's talk about that in a minute. You know what? Let's diverge right now to that. You have 9,000 subscribers, but you're not monetized yet, which probably means you're not at 4,000 watch hours. So you need a combination of subscribers and watch hours. So if you don't have enough watch hours, you're not going to be subscribed. You're not going to be monetized. So long form video is very important to getting monetized. A lot of people will build up a quick subscriber base using shorts, but shorts don't give you long-term views. Now, I believe you need like 90 million views or something in just shorts if you're going to get monetized that route, which is very hard to do. So if you're using a fort strategy, you need to use shorts and mix long form in there. You say, I have been more consistent, and that's really helpful. You need to be consistent because you need 4,000 watch hours over the course of 365 days. So Meek Money, I'm hoping this works out for you. That is awesome. And I thank you for sharing that, but work on that consistency. Yes, you're right. And long form content that people engage with. All right. So this runner decided to be a walker and started burning more calories. So what this runner was doing in the off time really mattered for the runner's health. So now we talked about you need to take care of your family and your spouse. You need to take care of yourself. Another thing that you need to do is find avenues of enjoyment for you. That could be hobbies. That could be serving in a ministry or a nonprofit. Do some time serving others and doing other things that make you happy. This will increase your overall well-being, doing things for others, doing things that make you happy. And part of a good life is serving others. So add that to the mix. Now, the next thing that I'm going to talk about is another thing that a lot of people struggle with, which is read. Now, no, I'm not saying read business books and nonfiction books and study. That's not it. But when you fill your mind with great stuff comes out, which will help you make more money. You're welcome, Meek Money. So don't read trash like 50 Shades of Grey. No. But you can read fun books. That's okay, because it will put your mind in a new direction, thinking and processing and being creative. And when your mind can operate like that, then you can make more money because you're going to perform better at work. You're going to perform better in your side hustle. You're going to perform better overall. It gives your mind exercise in thinking, in processing, in being creative. So I've got some books here that I'm going to talk about, and they're from different categories for different reasons. So one book that I read recently was Catch Me If You Can. And this was by Frank Abagnale. And Frank Abagnale was the biggest thief ever. But why is this book important? It's not a business book, because for me, it was a fascinating story to follow how Frank Abagnale got away with what he was doing. He was the biggest fraud there was, and he was constantly being hunted by Secret Service, FBI, local PD, and actually got caught more than once and got away because of his quick-wittedness. So it was fascinating to see how he did it, but it also put my mind in this direction of thinking, if you can dream it, you can do it. And how did he do it? And understanding the processes that he used, because he went really deep into explaining the processes he used, which just gave me new insight into when you think through things, you can come up with ideas and possibilities to solve problems. So that is why I really liked Catch Me If You Can. It is a nonfiction, but it is not a business book. The next book I'm going to talk about is Soundtracks by Jon Acuff. Jon Acuff writes at a very easy to understand level. So this one, I believe, is autographed. Yeah, it is. It's an autographed copy from Jon Acuff. But he writes at a really easy to understand level, which is great. So that makes it an easier read to begin with. But Soundtracks is, he talks about overthinking and how we overthink all the time. So again, this one's not quite a business book, but it leans more towards business than the last book. So in Soundtracks, he talks about overthinking and how to escape overthinking. But he also talks about we're constantly telling ourselves how we can't do something, or we have a negative thought process, and how to break the negative thought process, that soundtrack playing in our head. So reading this book really helps you think and process. Now, another book that I'm going to talk about is called The Little Paris, a novel bookshop. This is a very weird one. It is a fiction book, but I am going to read this just as a fun book. It sounded like an interesting story that will just give my brain the ability to think differently, to process differently, and to read a story. So that's why I'm going to read that one. As you see, I read things across multiple categories. I read about 100 books a year, which honestly is not that hard to do. Because if you read about 15 minutes a day, that'll end up being about 100 books in a year. 15 minutes. We all have a spare 15 minutes. Excuse me. So we all have a spare 15 minutes. So we could all read 100 books a year, which will really increase our ability to think and think differently, which will really increase our ability to earn. Now, one more thing I have here is this reading journal. Inside this reading journal, there's space in it to talk about the book you're reading, what you thought of it, rate it, when you started it, when you ended it, what you liked, what you didn't like, some key takeaways. And this book will help you, or journal, will help you rehash the information and think through it. So the things that you do in your off time really matter. Hey, if you got any questions, go ahead and drop those in the comments now in the chat, and I'll address them live for you, because we're going to wrap up in a minute if I don't see any more chats come in. Hey, Meek Money 48, thanks so much for chatting in today. I am glad you did. So what we do in our off time really, really matters. We need to stop wasting our time on useless, mind-numbing things like watching endless Netflix series. We need to start investing our time in still relaxing, but in things that are good for our brain and good for our lives. Taking care of your wife, taking care of your kids, taking care of your family. Super, super important. Taking care of your health. Super important, and something I personally struggle with. And I need to get better about it. I really do. Excuse me. Then we need to actually read, because reading is not really that hard to do. Set aside 15 minutes a day to read. Don't read trash novels. Read decent books. They can be fiction, they can be nonfiction, they can be from many different categories, just not trash. Things that will give your mind exercise in thinking and seeing and imagining things. Actually, I'm not a huge fan of the Harry Potter series. I know a lot of people are going to be against me now. But overall, those books are exactly kind of what I'm talking about to some degree, because they really open up your mind to this just imaginary world, and you can picture all of the excitement and activity happening within a Harry Potter story. There's so much going on, and your brain can really just process so many things as you're reading the words on the page. So even fiction like that can be good for you. I do suggest reading some nonfiction and learning things, but they don't have to be overly learning, like the nonfiction of Frank Abagnale. Sorry, Frank Abagnale is nonfiction that reads like a fiction, actually. And I learned from it, but it wasn't like deep dive study learn type thing. It wasn't a documentary type thing. It wasn't a biography. It wasn't even a business book, but it was a great story that read very much like a fiction. It was a great story to follow. And honestly, I was kind of disappointed when that book was over. So that is what I've got for you today. Guys, I hope this helps you earn more money. If you do these things, you will earn more money. You will be better at your job. You will do better at your side hustle. You will do better at running your business. I hope you have an amazing and awesome day.